Good morning. Our lesson today is entitled Navigating the Storms. Storms come. I don't know how much rain y'all have gotten in the past couple of 3 weeks. Seems like it's rained almost every day, but we don't have any chance of rain until Thursday. I looked a while ago. We got a chance on Thursday, 35%. Life is filled with storms. Sometimes they're weather storms. My grandmother, grandfather, and great-grandmother were all killed in a storm one night, April the 6th, 1936, in Tupelo, Mississippi. I know what storms are. My mother, because she was young, she was not fearful of storms, but she was very respectful, and she made us get in safe places, quote, safe as we had in the old houses we lived in. But it's not just weather storms that come, but there are things that happen in our lives that tear us up. And sometimes problems come and we have no control over them, but they come and we have to handle them. Storms were common on the Sea of Galilee. The situation is that the Sea of Galilee is in a low area and there are mountains all around, and the winds come across and they whirl and vibrate all around. You can't tell which way the wind's blowing. And all of a sudden, because it's hot there, and because those winds go and the water is cooler, it creates storms right there on the Sea of Galilee, nowhere else, just right there. In Matthew chapter 4, or Mark chapter 4, there is a passage which Jesus is in a boat and a storm comes up. The storm does not mean God has left us. It is oftentimes we wonder, where are you, God? And that's kind of the language that David used in several of the Psalms. Where are you? And we don't see him. But our question is not, where are you, God? But how do we navigate the storm so that we're safe? And I'm not just talking about physically safe. I'm talking about spiritually safe. How do we get through those things? So here we go. First off, recognize that storms are a part of life. In Mark chapter 4, verse 37, the Bible says, "And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat upon the ship, so that it was now full." Now, the people who were in that boat were fishermen. They knew what a storm was on the Sea of Galilee, and they knew how dangerous it was. And when that boat started filling up, I can just imagine, where's my life jacket? They probably didn't have life jackets. Where's my inner tube where I can get on it? They didn't have all those things. And they were frightened. In the center of God's will, the storms come up. And take note that Jesus is God and he is on the boat, and the boat is about to sink, and those fishermen recognize that. And I'll guarantee you, if I were on that boat and I knew the experience of those fishermen and they were torn up, I'd be torn up too. Yeah. In John chapter 16, verse 33 says, "In the world you shall have tribulations." He comes to bring peace, it says. But in the world, you're going to have tribulation. That is what you expect from this world. Now, most of us in our lives have had a pretty peaceful life. But there have been happenings, there have been things that'll tear you up. A loss of a job, a loss of a mate, a loss of a parent, a loss of a child, just all kinds of things. Tribulation. Jesus says that's what you should expect. It is not something that's not normal. It is normal. Job chapter 14 verse 1 says, man is born of woman is a few days. Your life's not going to last long. And it's full of trouble. That's what you expect. The storms are a part of life. But the storms also reveal what's in our hearts, the kind of heart that we have. Mark chapter 4 verse 38, the disciples go back to the back of the boat. Jesus is asleep. Master, I can just see them shaking him. Master, carest thou not that we perish? And Troy, I can't read that passage without thinking of that song. Peace be still, is that what it is? Peace be still. Master! Number one, they acknowledge him as master. The storm is still raging, and he's their master. And they're frightened, but he's still their master. And those disciples, they were in the presence of Jesus, who is God. They were still frightened. And what that tells me is that things in this life are going to scare me. Now, I'm a little bit anxious about today, for instance. My daughter's flying home from Texas. I'm just a little anxious about her in that flight. This 82-year-old almost man has got to drive to Nashville to pick her up. I don't like driving in Nashville. But I'm just a little bit anxious about that. You know what I'm saying? He's still the master. And if she doesn't make it or we don't make it, he's still the master. James chapter 1 verses 2 through 3 tell us that the storms are what strengthens our faith. He calls it endurance. Let's read it. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, when problems come. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Now that's the King James rendering. Let me put that in Henry County language. When you come against a trial and it is hurting you, know that that trial is going to make you so you can endure. You're going to come through it. And you're not coming through it alone. You're coming through it with Jesus. And that needs to be a part of our hearts every day for every trial that we come up against. So storms reveal the strength of our faith. Not just our heart, but our faith. And we must use those storms as opportunities to grow. Now that's easier to say than it is to do. That's a lot easier to say than it is to do. So my prayer is this: when I come upon a trial, Lord, help my heart stay next to you. Help me stay in your word and help me stay in prayer with you. Your faith comes from hearing the word of God. Your connection to God in prayer is a connection that Satan can't break. And your understanding that the Master is still with you, even though everything has fallen apart. Joseph, he was a brother, and his brother sold him as a slave, and he went down into Egypt, and he was accused of something he didn't do, and he went to prison. But God took that man, and he elevated him to second in command. I have king there because I didn't have enough room on that line. Okay? He was second to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. From being in a pothole that they had dug and put him in, sold in chains as a slave, accused falsely by his master in Egypt, and convicted and put in prison to second in command. Paul, he was a rich young man. And you know he was rich because he went to Jerusalem from Tarsus. He came to Jerusalem and he studied at the feet of Gamaliel, the most famous teacher in all of Judaism. You don't do that as a poor person. You do that only as a rich person. He became a lawyer, or at least he was studying to be a lawyer. I believe he was elevated in the temple guard. I think he was a captain of it. Bible doesn't say that. But because of his conversion to Jesus, he was thrown out of Judaism. They tried to kill him several times. Why? Because of his faith. And he said, all those things that I had, I count them as garbage. He was hunted. He was beaten. He was imprisoned. He was stoned and left for dead. And yet he's the most famous apostle in all the New Testament. God took him where he was and brought him where he had no idea he was going. Jesus is present in every storm. We may have to look. We may have to do as the psalmist said, where are you? Come on, let me see you. He was asleep in the back of the boat. He had his comfy little pillow. And I'm wondering in my Bible theology, you know, if the boat is filled up with water, was he wet? Was he in the water or was he up on a high place? But the boat was full of water and he's down under. I don't know. I don't understand it all. He was sleeping. Now think about when Elijah challenged the priest of Baal. Yelled to him, maybe he's on a trip, maybe he's asleep. And they were in that situation. Come on, God, show yourself to me. He was not afraid of the storm. He made the wind, he made the water, the waves. He's not afraid of the storm. But the disciples are. The disciples were not thinking about his power. They were not thinking about who he was. They were not thinking about how he had showed control over the seas before. He walked on water. Changed the water to wine. He can do what he wants to do with water. So God's silence does not mean his absence. We may think that. We may get caught up so up into our storm that we think, you're just nowhere, God. Boy, it's easy to do. His silence does not mean absence. Isaiah chapter 43 verse 2 says, when you passest, there's the verb. It means continual passing through. When you pass through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. God's saying here, you're going to go through storms. These are His chosen people. These are specifically going to be blessed. The whole world's going to be blessed through them. And He's saying, storms are going to come upon you. It is going to happen. But I'll be with you. So let's strengthen our faith. In Matthew chapter 4, Mark chapter 4, I did it again. Mark 4, 40 through 41, Jesus asked, why are ye so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Now, they've been with Jesus through His ministry. They had seen what He did, all the miracles He did. They'd heard Him teach. He's right there next to them. Why are ye so fearful? And for this lesson, I want you to know that Jesus is present with each one of us. And He goes through our storms. And why in the world are we so afraid? I don't understand all the storms. I don't understand all the happenings. But if He is with us and He has promised never to leave us, He'll take care. It may not be what we want. It may not look like what we think it should look like. The blessings may not be the blessings that we think He should give us. But He's there. And He's promised to take care. The storm's purpose is not to destroy us, even though they can come mighty close to it. And I think about those grandparents that I told you about. I think about they were taken out of the world just before World War II. And Melinda, you questioned, I believe, to my brother about my adopted black children. I've got pictures for you today. I should have put it in this presentation. It's not to destroy us, but it is to strengthen us. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 says, all things work together for good to those that love the Lord and to those who are called according to His purpose. Sometimes the storms hurt. I don't see any good in that. No. But just wait. Just wait. They that wait upon the Lord, they shall renew their strength. They shall walk, they shall not be weary. There's where we need to be. The Hebrew writer says, straighten the back, lift the hands, lift up your head. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 7 says that our faith is refined like silver or gold. I didn't do much gold, but I have refined silver, okay? I know what the flame does. It burns out everything that's organic. And what you have left then is the metal. And it's pure and it's clean and you can make things out of it. You can't make things out of dirt. Not like jewelry. And so much of our lives are caught up in hanging on to dirt and not putting the emphasis upon that which is really worth something. So let's close this lesson down. Jesus is still in control, y'all. A lot of things we don't understand, but He's still in control. Go back to Job. God was in control. Those bad things happened to Job. He lost a wife. No, not his wife. He lost his children. He lost all of his possessions. And God restored it all. Not the same children, not the same possessions, but God restored it all. He'll bless us because He's still in control. So ask God, God, what are you doing in this horrible event? That's a good question in prayer to go to Him and ask. He wants you to. He wants you to come to Him with every bit of your heart, with everything that's gone wrong, and cast it on Him. That's what Peter says. Cast all your care upon Him, for He cares for you. So in Mark chapter 4, verse 39, Jesus takes care of it. They've gone through the storm. That storm is tearing that boat up. They're about to sink. And Jesus gets up from the pillow. He comes to the edge of the boat. I can just see him grabbing hold of the banister, whatever it is, rail. And he said, peace, be still. And the wind stops. And the waves stop. Now you need to know that that boat still had water in it, and if they were going to float very long, they had to get the water out. God didn't take care of that. Peace, be still. And they said, who is this? Now you would think if they had seen him at the wedding feast, and some of them did, if they'd seen him raise that girl to life and touch that casket in the funeral procession, and that dead body gets up and feeds thousands from a child's lunchbox, you would think they would say, this is nothing. But no, who is this that even the winds and the waves obey him? He is the same one that crawled on the cross for my sins. He's the same one who said, I'll be with you and I will not leave you. Then I don't care what the world throws at us. As faithful Christians, our faith should be that He's going to take care of it. Whatever happens and however bad it feels, it's going to get better. There are some storms that are there to correct us. Sometimes I need correcting. My mama thought so a lot. My daddy thought so a whole lot more. Some storms are there to test our faith. And I don't mean to test it so that it's whether you've got faith or not, because God doesn't do that. But some storms are there to see how strong you are and to increase the strength that you have. But I don't care what the storms are. They should bring us closer to Jesus. Storms are inevitable. They are going to come. They are essential. And this is a hard concept for me so that I can appreciate the peace. I went on a mission trip to Trinidad several times, and the people down there, if it got down below 70 degrees, they just couldn't stand it. They were freezing to death, because that's the way it is all year round there. Anywhere from 68 to about 80 all year long, every single day. And they don't know how to appreciate that, because that's just the way things are. And some of them came up here to go to school at Freed Hardeman. And they came in June, and I told them, I said, you just wait until July and August. That's when it really gets hot. They said, boy, it's 90 degrees. I can't hardly stand this. I said, just wait. And then they weathered that storm, and the fall comes. And they'd never seen below 68. I said, we got to get you a coat. Why? I said, trust me, you need a coat here. And so we got a big, thick, heavy coat, and they said, this is too heavy. I said, it won't be. They learned to appreciate the climate they had. Not when they were there, but when it was taken away from them. And so that's the way it is. We appreciate when we go through the hard times, when the peace finally comes. Fear is normal. It doesn't mean you're not faithful. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It means you're human. And God put that in you, and He knows that that's the way you are. There are 3 times in the Old Testament that God says He remembers that they are just flesh. Let that soak for a second. God deals with us and knows we're just flesh. We're weak. We sin. We're not as strong as we ought to be. Not as strong as even we want to be. But God understands every bit of it. But in it all, Jesus is still under control. So find peace with Him. In all your storms, whatever's going on in your life, find peace with Him until the storm passes by. Thank you for singing that song.